Hey YouTube.
Hey there. We're TheFlyingCam, and we're out in the Sahara at the moment.
As you can see, it's pretty dry.
We've been working on a secret project in Senegal. We'll be able to reveal all later, but while we're out here we thought, we've got two Inspires.
And you need some, it'd be good to give some tips on how to survive the harshness of 49 degrees heat.
Yeah.
And how you actually operate.
Now, I think the operations manual says they can only go to 40. I'm not sure, I might have to double check that.
Yeah, they're rated to only 40 degrees, but when ambient temperature is 49 degrees, you have to apply certain techniques and tips, and we just did trial and error really.
Yeah.
The first one is batteries really.
Yeah, so when you're flying in the direct sun, things can get really hot really quick. So the batteries gets really hot, and obviously they're lipos, you don't want them exploding on you. So the first thing you should do with something like this is, once you finish flying it, take it straight to the shade.
Your shade is your best friend.
Yeah.
Don't underestimate how good shade is for all your stuff.
Whenever you can, just pull everything back out, put it in the shade.
We're currently not in the shade because we're filming this, but that's very rare.
The other thing which is really interesting about the batteries is they won't actually charge if they're over 40 degrees, which we found out.
And you get this little icon right below the button where it flashes, which
it just won't let you charge.
No. So you got to cool it down. You got to blow on it, put it in a shaded space.
And in fact, you need to reset it. So the way you reset it, or at least what we think is resetting, is you power it on, and then you plug it into charge. Yeah. And then it should work okay. It should start charging.
But you don't want to fly more than 10 minutes in the sun, because the battery temperature goes up to like 58 degrees.
In fact, if you've got dual operators, always keep the battery menu on there. And you can then watch how the temperature goes, because it will climb really quick.
And keep an eye on your cell levels as well, because one might be dropping more than the rest, and it could potentially cut out. So make sure your cell batteries cell lines even-ish as much as possible.
And while we're talking about overheating, which is probably your biggest thing going on in somewhere like this temperature, check on the motors. They get really hot, especially if you're doing quite acrobatic shots, or you're going up really fast, because I think our fear was, because they got so hot, we were scared it was going to melt the solder possibly, because
they're really hard to touch, almost burns you.
So pull everything back into the shade.
Check your props, because you might be killing random giant bees and animals and beetles. There's a lot of them flying, and sometimes accidentally you could hit one. So check your props, make sure they're not damaged.
The other thing, it's something we wouldn't usually recommend, but because there's so much dust and dirt, for the longevity of your Inspire, I'd actually recommend a hand launch. The hand launch is pretty good. I'm not keen on hand launches at all.
But there's a technique.
There is a way to do it.
Unless you've got a ground mat, which we've also been using, which is really handy.
Yeah.
And also make sure that if your batteries have been charged more than 10 times, to discharge into 5%, even though that could be a hassle in the middle of nowhere where there's loads of dust and it's really hot. So find a tree, find some shade, and just run the batteries down to 5% and then recharge them again.
Yeah.
Because, the last thing you want is falling out the sky, and this heat, the batteries have to be tip-top, really.
Actually, something which I think is actually really important, which is really easy to overlook, but if you're dealing in this heat, I recommend dual operators, because you overheat. Your mind goes to different places.
Yeah, we both start putting the wrong props on the other.
Start making mistakes.
Yeah, you got to keep on top of each other. Otherwise, you'll just something will go wrong. You'll forget to do something and then crash it, or forget to screw the props on properly, or just little things when you become really thirsty. You can't think properly.
Yeah, and I think the final thing I can think of right now is just being aware of your environment. Now, where we are, we've walked into thorn bushes and sharp things.
There's all these beautiful trees you see in the background. They're the most spikiest, thorniest trees in the whole world, and they've the hook on you. So the ground is just covered with things you don't normally think about.
And you can't even lean against a tree, because then you'll be covered in ants.
Yeah, so all the trees are covered in ants. Ants protect the trees, the trees protect the ants.
So I think that's it for
that's pretty much it
today. I hope that was useful. Remember to subscribe, press the button.
Hit the like button if you like it, hit the down button if you don't like it, and let us know your comments and your views.
Yeah,
awesome. See you later.
Hey Sununu, what are you about to do there?
Show off what you just filmed.
Hey Nunu, this is the most views we've ever had.